Hello everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to On Cash Flow, where I help you become a master of your own cash flow. Now let's get started. Retiring early can be scary. There are a lot of what ifs that run through your head. Luckily, many of these what ifs are pretty unfounded. So I'm going to actually go through in this video some of my biggest fears that I had. And the very first fear that I want to share with you is probably my biggest fear, probably the one I feared the most, and that was social isolation. When we are working a regular job, we're normally getting a lot of social interaction over the course of when we're working. We get that from maybe our coworkers, we might get that from our clients, our customers, or whoever. But the point is that most of the time in most workplaces, you're going to be working with other people and you're going to be socializing. But when you go to retire, especially when you retire early, you might not have that lifeline anymore. You're not going to have those coworkers. You're not going to have customers and clients, anybody that you can socially interact with. So it's going to be up to you to figure out a different way that you can socialize. And so this was one of my biggest fears going into early financial independence. I knew that I wasn't going to have that classic workplace in order to meet new people. And luckily this fear was unfounded for me because I found a way to adapt, make new friends, and of course, spend a lot of time with my family. And that is what I would encourage you to do before you achieve financial independence, before you choose to retire or retire early. I would come up with a plan of how you're actually going to deal with this dilemma of how you're going to interact socially with other people. This could be through many ways. Many people like to get this through church. Many people like to volunteer. Many people like to still actually work part-time, known as Baristify. Another option is you could find new people by doing meetups. And of course, you could spend lots of time with your family. So I would really actually take the time to think through what are you going to do in order to get some social interaction. And if you're early retired, most of the people that you know, they're still going to be working. They're going to still be there from 9 to 5. And you're going to have all that time to yourself that you're going to have to figure out what are you going to be able to do in order to fulfill your needs. Because this is a basic human need. Even if you're an introvert like I am, you still need some social interaction. This is one challenge that is non-financial that you do need to figure out if you want to achieve financial independence. Now, before I move on to my next fear, I just want to interject here real quick that I was actually inspired to make this video from another channel, Joe, I can't say his last name, Kuhn. But anyway, Joe made a video that's similar to this, his biggest fears of retirement. He's much closer to that regular retirement age, but still, the same rules are going to apply. The same fears, the same realities are going to apply whether you're financially independent in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s. But I'll talk more about his video at the end of this video. Next, let me move on to my next biggest fear that I had before I became financially independent. The fear of health insurance costs. Health insurance and health care and all that kind of stuff. Healthcare and health insurance has been getting more and more expensive. And it's probably a fear of yours too if you're thinking about retiring or becoming financially independent. Thankfully for me, since I served in the military, I do have access to VA healthcare. The point being there is that I do have access to some kind of healthcare at a very, very low cost. On the other hand, I am married and I do have a wife that is not covered under VA healthcare. That was a fear of retiring early that we've had to figure out a solution to. For the longest time, I was worried of how we're going to pay for such expensive health insurance premiums. And right now, the solution that we have right now is the healthcare marketplace, or healthcare.gov. This was created through the Affordable Care Act, which created the healthcare marketplace, healthcare.gov, to where based on what your current income is in that year, you can receive a tax credit that pays for certain health insurance plans. The amount of tax credit that you receive is going to be based on what your income was that year. Unlike most tax credits, where you get the tax credit after you file your taxes, and then it's based on what your income happens to be at that time, this tax credit is based on what you project your income to be in that tax year. For example, in 2022, which is the first year I started receiving the premium tax credit, for a couple that's married, filing jointly, and no kids, which is my current situation, I am eligible to receive a tax credit that would pretty much cover the entire premium of a healthcare.gov marketplace plan that is eligible for an HSA. So essentially the tax credit is covering the entire premium if my income remains under $42,000 per year. And being financially independent and being pretty frugal and knowing how to optimize my income, optimize my adjusted gross income, and know how the tax forms work, I am in a very strong position to keep my health premiums low by utilizing the premium tax credit. And this could be similar for you as well. The premium tax credit is administered to the federal government, which has gone through to the IRS as a tax credit. So pretty much if you're FIRE in the United States, you might have access to the premium tax credit. Now, even though we do have healthcare.gov and we have this premium tax credit, many people who are looking to become financially independent or looking to retire early, they still have fears about it because they fear that it can be repealed. They fear that this credit can go away. And of course, anything is possible. That is very true. But the way I look at it currently, I think that yes, it could be reformed. There could be changes to it. It could become less generous. It could become more generous. I don't really know. No one really knows what the future is going to be. a trend that I have noticed in the United States is that once a government program becomes so big and has been implemented into our society, it is very difficult for it to go away completely. And I just look back at Social Security and Medicare as one of these examples. So it is very hard to comprehend a world where Social Security and Medicare no longer exist in the United States. Yes, it has been reformed over the years. There has been minor changes, but the same idea still exists on what those programs seek to do. I think the premium tax credit is one of those things that's probably not exactly going to go away. It's probably not going to go away completely. And so, of course, that is just a guess. But the point is that we never know what the future is going to be like. There's always going to be uncertainties when you become financially independent, when you retire early, or even if you're just working a regular job. There's always going to be uncertainties about the future. You can't let every little uncertainty block what your major goals are and block what you really want to do with your life. And you know what? There is another fear that I didn't really want to talk about because it is something that is very personal to me. And the fear is that you're not going to like this video. No, seriously, if you're liking the video though, please make sure you like the video. Please alleviate my fears and hit that like button on this video. It's really easy and it's really going to help me out. And it might even help you out too, because that means that YouTube is probably going to recommend more of my videos to you that you need to watch. Okay, seriously though, let's get on to another fear. So originally when I was planning my financial independence, I was planning my plan, I always accounted for, okay, this is how much I'm going to need for my investments. I'm never going to make any money again. Can't make any other money unless I have a job. And obviously that is completely untrue. When you're developing your financial independence plan, you might estimate that you're not going to make any income. But the reality is, if you're retiring in your 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s, you're probably still going to make some income. You're probably still going to want to make some income, whether it be through your hobbies, whether it be through some small side hustles, because sometimes just making income can be fun. And even a small amount of income to offset some of your withdrawals can actually make a huge difference. And it's even easier if you have a low budget, low amount of spending per year, then it's easier to make enough income in order to offset what you need to take from your investments. But the point is, when I was first looking to become financially independent and retire early, I was really scared that I was never going to make any other income again. And so I had to really dial in my plan and say, I'm only going to have money from my investments. But that is simply untrue. Right now, I have multiple small income sources and I do not work any kind of day job. And these small side hustles that I do have are very flexible. They're actually very passive in nature. Like for example, really quickly, I have a house hack. I do credit card rewards. I do credit card bonuses. I do some bank bonuses, and I kind of do some other stuff as well. Pretty much all based online and very easy to do to make just a little bit of extra income. And of course, I have this YouTube channel as well. And so the overall point is that you are going to make income when you're financially independent. Especially if you're one of those people that can get to financial independence in the first place, then you're probably not going to be able to sit still for very long. You're probably going to have to do something that's going to produce at least a little bit of income. Now, really quick, before I move on to my next fear that I overcame, I want to know from you in the comments below, what are some of your biggest fears of becoming financially independent, of retiring early? Please share them in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say, and I'd love to have a discussion with you. But moving on to my next fear, another fear that I had was thinking, are my investments good enough? Is this the right asset allocation for me? Am I over-diversified? Am I under-diversified? Is my portfolio too simple? These are all things that if you're involved in investing and if you're knowledgeable, and you seek knowledge about investing and things like that, you're always going to be second guessing yourself. That's because there's just so much knowledge and so much conflicting information out there about investing. But ultimately, what I learned for myself is keeping it simple is almost always better than something that might be optimal. Another thing that I learned was perfect investing is not better than having good behavior that's going to build your wealth, good behavior that's going to allow your investments to grow, because that's ultimately what most of your success is going to be determined by, you having that good behavior. And an example that I like to say is that you being able to save a certain amount of money every single month that goes into your investments, that automatically invests in a relatively diversified portfolio that is appropriate in asset allocation and all that kind of stuff. That kind of simple behavior repeated over and over again for a series of years is really what's going to build your wealth a lot more and a lot better and a lot higher odds of succeeding than, having the perfect investment. And along with that, I've learned a lot of the history of the stock market and how the stock market on average reacts to certain events, what a recession is, what a bull market is, what a bear market is, why the stock market acts like it does, all the major events that's happened in the stock market history. And if you learn that kind of stuff, you're going to learn that all of this fluctuations, all of this volatility is completely normal. And if you can get that and understand and accept that, then it's going to be a lot easier to be at peace with what your portfolio looks like. And lastly, another huge fear that I had that I think about almost every day, and that is, am I going to be happy? That is one of the biggest things that always came across my mind when I was on this path to financial independence, when I was on the path to retiring early. I was thinking, is all of this for something? Like, am I going to actually be happy when I reached this one point. And looking back at it, that was the wrong way to look at it, because happiness is not achieved at a point in time. You do not reach something, you do not accomplish something, and then you're happy. No, happiness is more of like a state of being. Like it's something that you have to always be doing. And I'm very far removed from being able to say what is going to bring you happiness or what's going to make you happy. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that every single day I try to take what's within my control and try to use that to my advantage to try to live a happier life and try to make me happy and my family happy and all these kinds of things. And when it comes to financial independence and early retirement, even if it doesn't bring you happiness, here's the thing. Even if you do end up achieving it and you find out it's not right for you, that's perfectly fine. This is something that is not permanent. You can always make changes. You can always pivot. You can always adapt. You can always just go back to work. Whatever is going to bring you the most life satisfaction, you can pursue that. And maybe achieving financial independence does that. Maybe retiring early and having a lot more free time to do hobby-like things or volunteering-like things or working on your own business. Whatever you want to do, you can do any one of those things, and any one of those things can bring you life satisfaction, can bring you happiness. And that's ultimately what you should be going after. And that's ultimately what I am going after. This talk here might have been a little deeper than what I wanted to get into, but I was inspired to make this video by Joe. He made a video about his biggest fears of retirement and now how he's dealing with them now. So I would highly suggest that you watch Joe's video after this. I'm going to put a link to his video in the pinned comment below. I'm going to put it in the description, and it's also going to pop up on this screen after I get off the screen. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time.